all the news from every dark corner of the universe.
Warning, effects of time shifting may occur.
This is Dr. Michio Kaku.
I'm Peter Mayhew.
This is Trisha Helfer, number 6 from Battlestar Galactica.
Hi, this is Colin Ferguson with Sci-Fi Channel's Eureka, and you're listening to Slice of Sci-Fi.
SliceofSciFi.com.
Certain that I've forgotten something today, I'm Michael R. Menengay.
I'm Brian Brown.
I'm Sam Roberts.
I'm Tim Adamick.
I'm Brett Philippek.
I'm Treble.
And that is the cast of characters for tonight.
Woohoo!
Yay.
You just watched the opening sequence from Slice of Sci-Fi. It's a web series, but it's also a network radio program. Let's meet one of the producers and find out more about how they make the show.
Slice of Sci-Fi is the brainchild of my business partner, Michael R. Menengay, and Michael is an old school radio guy who's a radio engineer, and I started my career in radio. Way back in the days, we used to have little quarter-inch tape and a grease pencil and a razor blade, and that's how you would edit. You would just like, and then cut and have to tape it together. In addition to just being a terrific person and a smart businessman, he is just a sci-fi geek. He reads, he watches, he learns, he immerses himself in everything. He's just, and that was just his personal thing. And over the years, I've just learned that there's great programming opportunities in embracing our geek. If everybody's got a geek, whatever it is, you know. So we try to bring that to the forefront. So Slice of Sci-Fi is really entertainment news programming that you would see the same things on E or Access or Insider or one of the ET rather. It's got just a little more bend off the mainstream. You know, we just try to keep it a little more on the, you know, science fiction and the fantasy. The surreal science fiction films have always been, you know, the greatest sellers and highest grossers. So there's plenty of news going on in that little sub-world, and so we just take a slight bend in the way that we present the information. Yeah, actually, we started as just a podcast, just a straight-up good old-fashioned downloadable podcast, MP3 files. And then when we tightened up on the show and made a more respectable presentation and fit within a certain clock and allowed opportunities for advertisers to fit into that program, then we were able to put the deal together with XM Radio at the time and tightened the show up over the years, and then Sirius came along and they got involved with XM, and then that became that. So now we're on Sirius XM Channel 80 and have been for the last 5 years. And then in 2011 is when we realized that this subgenre existed of television watching radio shows be made, like Howard Stern and some of the others, and thanks to them for creating this subgenre, but it's been to our benefit. So now in this last year we have 8 HD cameras within the studio. They're all feeding in together, and graphics packages that work and move, and so we're looking cooler all the time, and it's been a real success. Well, here's the key element, James, is we have an amazing news director, Michael Hickerson. And Michael has the ability to cull all this great information throughout 24/7. We're a 24/7 news agency, and it's thanks to Michael. So that gives us plenty of content to constantly create traffic and interest and flow. So we have a robust website with a couple 100,000 page views a month of people who are coming to read the news. A lot of them get their RSS feed still, you know, that pop the news right to them. Others are catching it on the radio, and then the web series just became the natural extension of this same process. So we have the same content that we just keep repurposing into different media. Video was the last frontier for us. As I said, I started in radio, so that gave me good understanding of programming and the business of broadcasting. Over the years, I was able to move into video production, although I had been making movies since I was a little kid, you know, so I was like always fascinated by that. But so becoming a television producer was just the natural evolution and what I had always dreamed to be, and have no idea what I would do if I didn't do that. But yeah, I've been blessed to have a great career and do a lot of different things, both in feature film, dramatic television, and an awful lot in nonfiction television. So back in the mid-90s, I was on a television series called Babylon 5, produced by Warner Brothers, and it was a science fiction Star Trek-ish television series that I was able to play one of the characters. I was the the enigmatic Ambassador Kosh. I was the mysterious Vorlon character. And I was also on the producing staff of the show. And one of my responsibilities there was to create a website specifically for the show and do it in such a manner that it would be interactive and give the opportunity for the audience to engage the show even more, peel back layers that didn't exist in the television show and start to create this online community. Well, I got to tell you, remember, this is '94. Such a thing just didn't exist. I mentioned, like we were so excited that I finally got a modem that got me to 28.8, so I was just like, out of here. So, I was like, that was super fast, I was like, woohoo. And when we made the big jump from a 286 processor to a 386 processor, I was like, you can't hold that on me. So that is really, looking back at it now, didn't know it at the time, but looking back at it now, that was really the very earliest days of social networking and creating additional web content specific to a linear television show. I don't think there was anybody else doing it at the time, so I believe we were among the very first for that. And I have to tell you also that there are lessons I learned in those early days that I still apply today. I would say whether you're new at web series creation or you're vintage like myself, it doesn't matter what level of production you're at, it doesn't matter what budget you're at. Pre-production is always, always, always the key. Plan your work, work your plan. I know that's an old cliche. I know your dad's been telling you that forever. I'm just telling you, it's the truth. Plan, plan, plan. And not just plan how you're doing it or how you're going to be creative, but what is the story? What is the messaging? What is the communication that you're creating it? And who does that go to? Who's really going to tune into this? How are they going to find it? Plan, 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 plan. Grab your camera, throw on a light, and start recording. That's the fun part, and that is the easy part. The hard part is putting it together in a manner that an audience will accept it and be entertained, be informed, and or engage in that content. So plan, 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 plan your work. The other area that I think is often overlooked is because it's easy to create content and throw it up on the web, and suddenly you're a content creator with distribution. Not enough people take a close look at the business end of it. We all fall into two categories. You're either right brain or left brain, and it's like a lot of fun to do the right brain stuff. Nobody really ever wants to do the left brain stuff, but there are serious considerations that need to be part of that pre-production plan and overall master objective for your web series. You need to understand, probably more than anything, is the issues of intellectual property, contractual rights, legal rights, what really is fair use, what's not fair use. Produce your projects in a manner that is befitting proper legal process. Now, that sounds boring as all get out, but the reality is intellectual property, the legal system, lawyers have just infiltrated entertainment over the years, and that's not going to go away. In fact, that's going to get tighter, it's going to get stiffer, and there are changes that are constantly evolving. And because the internet has been able to evolve so far with somewhat like the old Wild West, without much rule or regulation or guidance or enforcement, I think those days are coming to a close, and I think you're going to have to be more and more responsible as a producer creating your content, that you have the right and permission to be on a location where you're shooting, that the people that you are shooting, both as your primary, secondary, and tertiary people in the background, that they are all released and signed that they're allowed to be there. You can't just pull off your favorite Maroon 5 song, and throw it on your, you got to get the music cleared. And then all those contents, you should have proper insurances. I mean, all these things. It really, you can't get away. You can't be too careful. You can't be too. You just can't be prudent enough to make sure that you've done everything right and produce a show that is as legally tight as it is creatively juicy. Monetization of the web has been the great enigma. Exactly, it's. I really thought when we first started Slice of Sci-Fi in podcasting, as a podcast, that this was going to, I was just completely convinced that this was now going to be programming that I would be able to take to advertisers as an alternative to their radio advertising programs and budgets, because we were going to be highly quantitative and qualitative in what we were able to present to them. I can tell you exactly how many times my server was hit, how many files were downloaded. I can tell you roughly where those people are from, and from that information we can garner some demographic information. The kinds of things that advertisers are always looking. They really don't care about how clever you are, how witty you are, how great your camera work was. They don't care about all that. It's how many eyeballs or earballs do you have, and what does that reach and what's that going to cost me? So I thought that we would be able to provide a very high yield return on investment for a very low CPM. And as it turned out, the advertisers never came to podcasting. There's just systems in place, methodologies in place, politics in place, ad dollars, all of that coming at a time when the economy was starting to crush, and it just never happened. So good lesson in there for me, because I don't take anything for granted now. I assume that the holy grail of monetizing the web is going to forever elude us, but I see more and more opportunities do pop up. One of the logical areas right now is to take your content and associate it with a very specific brand and allow that brand to be recognized within your content without it being salacious. Wonderful example is this television series that I've just worked on. It's branded entertainment for Budweiser. It's a series called The Big Time. It's currently airing on Saturday afternoons on ABC Network. It's a dream fulfillment opportunity where we give people who have great skills but never quite got their chance at the big time. We facilitate it through a series of challenge competitions, a way for them to finally get their chance at the big time. And Budweiser had the foresight to know that to really create and reach the audience that they were after, that audience segment spends a lot of time on the web. And while it was really cool to have a TV show on ABC, they really know that the long-term interactivity and engagement is going to come from online content. So my company and I were hired to create original content for the web that what serves as behind-the-scenes additional materials and aspects and view, a point of view, an immersive point of view that is not found on the television show. It allows you to be enticed if you find the online content before you watch the TV show. It will give you something while you're watching or right after you've watched to go say, oh yeah, now that was really cool, I want to find out more about that. And then it also engages you to stick around to make sure you watch next week's episode. So fantastic opportunity for me to be involved with a brand like Budweiser, hello, and to be doing a show that's affiliated with ABC. Those are great clients to be working with and huge experience, so I can now charge people a lot more money. I'm super proud of Slice of SciFi. Slice has become a valid news agency with a very specific structure and professionalism that is delivered in our content. To me, it is the perfect foundation and business model by which I can now start to rubber stamp other content. So I've just taken on another project that is sports programming. I have some retired NFL players who love to talk about the game, and that is a unique perspective that you don't get by watching, the sports channels. And because they're no longer contractually bound by NFL and Players Association laws about what they can and can't say, you get some really great conversation, which is the same element that I have in Slice of SciFi. I have the most amazing cast and crew on that show, and the truth is they're all hyper geeks, but they really know their stuff, and they're smart people, and they are forever challenging the science of science fiction in the way that it's presented to us. That is a very unique perspective. And I hope that I can find that again in my sports shows, and then I'll rubber stamp that to an automotive show, I'll rubber stamp that to a home and garden show. I mean, there's no such, they say there's no original ideas in Hollywood. Okay, embrace that. Right. It's like, don't try to come up with the new, just do what has already been done, what already sells, find your way of telling a story, differently, but stick with what works. If you're taking this, if you take your webcasting serious, if you really want to make it a career, if you really want to make it, if you have a personal message that you're trying to get out there, it can't be, hey, I pulled some friends together on a Saturday afternoon and we're going to run out with my, Sony Cam and shoot something and slap it up there. That's great. That's a great creative outlet. I encourage you to go do that. But if you want to play hardball, it starts here and here.
So what I'd like to highlight from today's show is that when Jeffrey brought up the importance of pre-production. Now I can go on and on and on about the importance of being prepared, knowing what time your actors are supposed to arrive, knowing what time you're supposed to break for lunch, knowing what time certain props are supposed to be there, knowing what scenes you're going to shoot in order. The more you prepare in advance, the more you can minimize any problems that may arise on the set. Now, those problems will arise, but if you're prepared, you know what to do. You know where to look. You know who does what, who's responsible for what situation. Like I said, I can go on and on with the importance of preparation, but please don't overlook it. If you're shooting your web series, you want to know what's supposed to happen each hour of the day and from day to day. So work your plan and make your notes and follow them. I'm James Tucker, and you've been watching The Web Series Show. You can watch the full uncut episode on our website, thewebseriesshow.com.